area. Todd Stevens, your Season 1 point champion, he's on your left with E-Tron against Paul Selim, who is on your right with Affinity. Players will shake, good sportsmanship. Starts off round number 3, and we are underway. And Urza's Tower is where things will begin. It's a Memnite, an Ornithopter, an Inkmoth Nexus, a Signal Pest, and a passing of the turn. Now, you mentioned that Todd Stevens needs to have Tron. Well, guess what he does? There's the Tower. It's a mine. He's got a power plant in hand. Now, what are the payoffs? Well, we'll find that out soon enough. Now, for Paul, it's pretty important that he has a second land, and it looks like he does in Darksteel Citadel, so he'll play that. And now, he'll play Arcbound Ravager. It's time to go to the attack step.
Well, we might see a response to this Ravager.
Perhaps we'll see a Dismember.
I guess not.
Here comes Signal Pest along with Ornithopter and Memnite. There will be a Battle Cry trigger, which means it'll be an attack for 3. Stevens will fall down to 17. Stevens will draw a card. He's picked up a copy of Reality Smasher. There's the Tron. Does he have the Ballista? No, he's just got a Thought-Knot Seer and a trigger. So a trigger here from Todd will show you Master of Ethereum, Arcbound Ravager, and a Vault Scourge. And he'll get to exile one of those.
This is a tough hand. You really don't want to be staring down that Master of Ethereum, but the opponent doesn't have a blue source yet, so you might want to just leave that and take the Ravager. You're a big fan of naming decks the right way.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Affinity deck name?
Totally fine with it.
Yeah?
There are some deck names that you just can't change.
I feel like you're only fine with it because it's just already established.
That's correct. Can't change it. It'd be like picking a battle about Death and Taxes and Legacy, which I've entertained the idea of. But I've decided...
You want to just call it mono white? Or
I would like to call it something really, really disparaging to make people upset. But I've decided against that.
You're like, the most honest representation of this deck is calling it
Plains. I just want to call it something just horrible. But instead, I just leave it Death and Taxes so I don't have to have that battle.
Well, it's fine. It is all white cards. You could call it plain vanilla.
Yeah, just vanilla control or something. Because it's actually, it's not even an aggressive deck, it's a control deck.
It is, but it's often not a very successful control deck.
I just won a Grand Prix, and it just won the Invitational.
That's true, and you just had a great run with it.
I really did really well with it in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I really did.
Which is one of the reasons you're so high on it right now.
That's correct. It's definitely my favorite deck. Reality Smasher going to come across here. Paul down to 13. He lost the Master of Ethereum from the Thought-Knot Seer, which is hanging back on defense, and now he's going to serve in with all his pals. This is where things get a little bit more difficult for Todd Stevens. Now it looks like Thought-Knot Seer might have some interest in blocking Arcbound Ravager. But we'll see where he wants to put his 4/4, and now that confirms it.
Yeah, Todd really wants to get this Ravager off of the board so that he can more successfully use his Dismember.
So just going to let the block happen. Now keep in mind, Signal Pest here is going to Battle Cry. So it's going to be an attack for 2/4. It looks like 6/7, but we'll see where life totals do shake out here in just a moment.
And Paul didn't get greedy there. He didn't make any mistakes. He didn't try to move in on the Ravager, and he didn't try to pile a bunch of tokens on top of his Ornithopter or anything. Just a very conservative play. He's going to stay wide here, and I like it.
I like staying wide so long as he's able to get enough damage to shorten this game. You know, he doesn't want to get taken by surprise and lose to something. Now, he is being very careful to play around Dismember. That much is clear.
Yeah, I think he's getting in for 8 points here. He's going to gain 3 back, and he has another Ravager in his hand. So Todd's going to be staring down a very similar board next turn at 8 life.
There's another Arcbound Ravager, and it is 16-8. Pass the turn back, Stevens will draw. He's picked up another copy of Reality Smasher. Again, he does have a Dismember in hand, but Dismember means that he's at a virtual 4 right now.
Yeah, he's been very patient with the Dismember, but it's getting to the point where he won't be able to do much with it.
Smashers are going to come in. And this is him definitely trying to steal a game that he has no business winning. Maybe we'll see Arcbound Ravager do some blocking or stuff like that, where he is definitely trying to make it so that Paul makes a mistake here.
Yes. And this is what you have to do. You know, if you're in Todd's position, you say, what is the line that I can take where if my opponent makes a mistake, I can potentially win?
Yep. It's a Matter Reshaper, it's a Ghost Quarter, and a passing of the turns. We head back over to Paul. Paul did not block either one of those Reality Smashers, so he's going to fall down to 6. Limber Void the draw. He puts that land on the battlefield right away. And now here come all the Knuckleheads once again. Signal Pest will trigger Battle Cry. And if Todd Stevens simply blocks Ravager.
I mean, there's only 2 creatures that he can block, right? A Ravager and a Memnite?
And a Memnite, yeah. So he would take 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what it looks like to me right now. I think he's going to live through this turn.
I think it's going to be tough.
So he sacks here.
Yeah.
And
the problem is he has to lose 4 life in order to cast the Dismember.
It depends on where Paul puts the counters on. Okay, if he puts them on Ornithopter.
You know, the Dismember puts him to 4.
Yeah.
And there's still a good mix of creatures here that would kill him.
So the thing is, if he moved the modular onto the Vault Scourge.
Yes.
Todd kills the Vault Scourge.
Yes.
With Dismember, he falls down to 4, and then he takes 3 from Ornithopter and Memnite, so he'd fall down to 1 and then kill him. But Paul put it on a non-Vault Scourge creature. So then Todd kills the Ornithopter in response to Dismember, kills the Ornithopter in response with Dismember, but then he takes 4 from Vault Scourge plus Memnite, so that's game.
Yeah.
So Todd was hoping that he'd make a mistake and put it on the Vault Scourge. He did not, and that's why Paul is up a game over Todd. Affinity up a game very quickly over Eldrazi-tron. So there you go. Now we turn our attention to the sideboard, and Stevens is already very quickly going to his board. So you have to imagine he's got a plan for this matchup, even though it is a difficult one for him. 3 Relic of Progenitus, 2 Pithy Needle, 2 Surgical Extraction, 2 Hangerback Walker, 2 Warping Whale, and the 1-ofs here in Grafdigger's Cage, Wormcoil Engine, Ratchet Bomb, and a Basilisk Collar. What do you like?
So I like a lot of these 1-ofs. The Basilisk Collar, the Ratchet Bomb, the Wormcoil Engine are all strong. The life gain is great at catching you back up when you're falling behind in this matchup. Ratchet Bomb is just some clean removal that can get a lot of permanence on the other side of the board. The Hangerback Walkers and the Warping Whales will probably come in just to make his deck leaner. You know, he's got a lot of bigger, more expensive cards that he's going to want to take out of his deck.
On the other side of things here for Paul, he's got 4 Etched Champions, card that's great against Death Shadow, but very poor in this matchup. So better off that they're in the sideboard here this weekend thus far for Paul. 3 Dispatch, 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Ancient Grudge, a Grafdigger's Cage, a Gear Power Aether Grid, a Whip Flare, and a Spellskite.
I got to say, I like seeing that Paul has these Etched Champions in his sideboard. It's not one of the more exciting cards in your main deck. The metagame really has to shape up properly for that card to shine in the main deck. And a 3-mana 2/2 in certain spots is just so pedestrian.
Yeah, it can be either, that card is either very good or very bad in the matchups. The Mirror, it's bad. Against Eldrazi-tron, it's bad. Against Death Shadow, it's very good.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that, but it's still, I like that it's in the sideboard. We saw that he was playing Master of Ethereum in the main deck. It's just a much bigger, more robust threat, and it's good in almost every matchup.
Okay.
That being said, in this matchup, I'd probably only bring in these 3 Dispatches.
I like Dispatch a lot. Rest in Peace pretty bad. Grudge pretty bad. Aether Grid could be okay, but yeah, it's actually not very good.
Yeah, so many of the opposing creatures are 4/4s and 5/5s. Like, you know, I think just the Dispatches want to come in here.
Yeah, but Dispatch is quite good.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's a good card to have. So these players are already underway here for game number 2. You see an Eldrazi Temple there for Stevens. For Paul, he's got an Ornithopter. He's got a Springleaf Drum, a Darksteel Citadel, and a Signal Pest. Anything else here for the Affinity player? Nope, just going to head back over to Stevens, who's got a Urza's Mine.
Yeah, that's a fine Affinity start.
And there's a Mind Stone, simply going to pass the turn back. Paul's going to take a look at Mind Stone. It's an oldie but a goodie. We can do the same.
Classic, that card.
Yeah.
Weatherlight?
That is correct. That is correct. 2 mana, tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, and you can pay a colorless and sacrifice your Mind Stone to draw a card. Master of Ethereum going to come down here for Paul. Now here's an attack for 1 from the Ornithopter. Steven's going to fall down to 19, already under the gun here.
I would have attacked with the Signal Pest.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to deal the 1 that way?
Yes.
Now, why Signal Pest as opponent Ornithopter, Craig?
It's just a more intimidating creature to me.
Okay. Okay.
You show your opponent what you're about.
Here's a Thought Knots here. Speaking of intimidating creatures, Arcbound Ravager, Steel Overseer, and Vault Scourge. Another really good hand here for your Affinity player. And Arcbound Ravager is going to bite the dust right away. So we're going to head back over to Paul. He'll draw a card. He's picked up a Cranial Plating. That's another really good Magic card. I like casting that one.
Yeah, the rich get richer here,
They sure do. Ornithopter's getting bigger. Massive Ethereum's coming in too. Massive Ethereum is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 6/6, so no good blocks there for Stevens.
And the Ornithopter has 7 power?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's make it 7 because of Master of Ethereum too.
This is a beating.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how good that dispatch is. When your opponent's first play is basically on turn 3, and you can just get it off the board for 1 mana, it's insane.
Keep in mind, this is a game where Todd Stevens is on the play too, folks. That's what's also making this pretty tough.
Tough matchup.
Yeah. Expedition map to draw. Stevens is at 6. And what he really needed that to be was a 3rd Tron piece, because he does have a Walking Ballista in hand. It is the kind of card that can be beneficial right now, but he's in some serious trouble to kick off his day here in Syracuse, because Affinity is doing what Affinity does. It's got some stinkers that make it work, like Ornithopter, Signal Pest, and Springleaf Drum, but it's Haymakers and Plating, Master, Steel Overseer,
Ravager. Yeah, I mean, you call those cards stinkers, but they're the glue that keeps the deck together.
Absolutely. Stevens has found his other Tron piece. Now he's going to play a Walking Ballista. That'll be for 2. Well, that doesn't appear to do too much on this battlefield here, Craig, as now here comes Thought Knots here. Feel a little frisky. All right.
Yeah, he can't even shoot down that Ornithopter right now.
No, he cannot. It's got 3 toughness because of the Master of Ethereum. Let's see what this is.
I expect it to just be 2 more.
2 more Knuckleheads?
Yeah, 2 more artifacts just on the board.
There's a Signal Pest. Going to use that new Signal Pest to play an Arcbound Ravager or a Steel Overseer. I guess he lost the Ravager, so it's just got to be the Overseer.
Just the Overseer.
No big deal.
I don't think it matters what it is right now.
Attack step. Little battle cry trigger. Yeah, and I think we're all done here, folks. Yes, we are. Paul Selim's going to win this match over Todd Stevens 2-0. Very easy stuff there for Affinity over Eldrazi-Tron. And for your Season 1 points champion, Todd Stevens, his tournament actually starts off with a loss. And this might be, Craig, his worst matchup.
Yeah, that